Hey guys, Abel here, back with another video. First of all, I hope you're doing well. I know that this past year was not the greatest for a lot of people, but I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and you could enjoy this festive period as much as you could. So today I thought I would talk about something unique, something that I haven't really addressed in detail in prior videos, and that is reflecting on these past 9 years in which I was into fitness and lifting. You could actually argue that it's been a lot longer than just 9 years, but if I'm just looking at the time in which I was going to the gym regularly, I was watching my diet, then it was about 9 years. And answer one simple question, and that is, did being into fitness make me a happier person? And it's a very complicated question because I know that for a lot of people, just the sheer physical transformation was a complete game changer. Maybe they were super overweight or super skinny before, which made them insecure, and just getting into good shape was just a massive burden from their shoulder that was lifted. For me, it's a lot more complicated. It was a very interesting journey with lots of ups and downs. And what I really want to do here is taking an objective look at this. So I don't want to give you some cliche bullshit of, man, ever since I've been in shape, life is just amazing. I'm waking up with a huge smile on my face and I'm going to bed with an even bigger smile on my face and I'm full of energy and I just feel like Superman. Like, no, let's cut the crap and let's really look at all the good and all the bad. So I'm going to start with the first thing which I expected fitness to give me and what it never really gave me. And that is, as you might expect, it's attention. Within that, mainly girl attention, recognition, admiration, jealous looks from other guys on the beach, and whispers behind my back from girls about how hot I was. I'm inclined to say that these things never really happened, or if they did happen, it was to such a small extent that it's negligible, barely worth mentioning. Now, I didn't get into fitness because I wanted girls, so I was not looking for more hookups or to finally get a girlfriend. Honestly, it wasn't like that in my case, but the sort of things that I imagined for myself were things like I arrived to the pool party, and as I'm gracefully taking my shirt off and I'm strolling across the poolside, a couple of girls just go, taking the sunglasses off, checking me out. Didn't really happen, or at least I didn't notice it, and that's a bit of a shame. I'm not gonna have sleepless nights over that, it's fine, but some of that would have been nice at least. And honestly, if I'm just thinking of these last 9 years and the women that I've been with, I would say that leanness, muscles, abs, I wouldn't say they didn't care about it at all, because that would not be completely true. But if I'm thinking of the compliments I've received, why someone was attracted to me, why they wanted to be with me, muscles, abs, all of that stuff were very, very, very low on that list. As far as the opposite side of this is concerned, so the cliche of guys getting to lifting because they think that getting jacked is gonna make them successful with girls, but in reality, it's only other guys that are giving them that attention. Online, that definitely happened. So as I started building up my following and I developed it to a still small but respectable degree, I definitely got that online. In-person relationships, not so much. And honestly, that's simply down to me just not knowing a lot of people that are interested in fitness in any way. So it just is what it is. And if I'm going to be talking about vanity-related benefits, it would be simply that I just feel confident in my own skin. And this is a nice thing because this doesn't require a pool party for this to happen. You don't have to be shirtless to experience this. I can actually just wear a long sleeve shirt, and it's just nice to know that my body looks like I take care of it. And this feeds into your self-confidence. That over time feeds into your general self-image. And having a more positive self-image is always a nice thing, especially when you know that it's warranted and that you worked for it. So that is definitely a huge positive thing. The next thing that I want to talk about, and this is obvious, so I just want to get through this quickly, and that is knowledge. So being into fitness, experiencing a lot of things with my body, diet and training-wise, educating myself, just simply enabled me to be in control of what's happening to my body. And this may seem like a trivial thing to some of you who've been into fitness for a long time, but just look at a lot of people around you that are every year following fad diets, always struggle to keep the weight off. And even if you do struggle to keep the weight off, just knowing what to do and having a solid foundation of knowledge really gives you autonomy and simply just power. So I think that's a really nice thing. And obviously, I am really grateful that I have that. So that when I see an advertisement online about some magic diet pill or some magic revolutionary diet method, I don't have the urge to click on it because I know that it's bullshit. And that is because I have the knowledge. I developed this over time. I spent a lot of time and money on education. And I'm really glad that I'm armed with this suit of armor for the future. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about, and this is definitely something I didn't expect to happen, but it did happen, is disordered eating. So I never thought this could happen to me. Definitely didn't see it coming, but it did come with a vengeance. So thank you, fitness. Thank you very much. I could have done without this, but whatever. I guess it's part of the journey. But in all seriousness, I don't want to spend a lot of time discussing this, or I don't want to discuss this in very great detail because I talked about this on my channel a lot and I will in the future as well, I guess. But I would just say that disordered eating was something that impacted me heavily, I would say for a good 4 or 5 years. For the most part, it was something that was kind of in the background as this nagging background noise. I could tell that it's there. I could tell that it's having an impact on me, but I kept it under control. It was not something debilitating. And then I had one really brutal year with this where it was just hell. And at one point, I was legitimately not sure if I can actually ever come out of this, but I did come out of it. But at one point, I was getting into some pretty messed up binge eating like behavior. The binges were becoming more frequent and more severe. And looking back now, honestly, I'm just really glad and somewhat surprised that I could make it through that period without becoming obese or actually developing this into a much more serious clinical issue like bulimia. And look, if something like this has been impacting you for as long as this has impacted me, then it definitely leaves a mark on you. So I would be probably lying if I said that all of that has no impact on me today whatsoever. I can definitely feel some of its residual effects. And I always say that I date my redemption from all of this to the summer of 2017. And I can say it with a very straight face that since then, I did not have a binge, not one. Now, that doesn't mean that I never overate. Of course I have. But the reason I'm confident that this dark past of mine won't return is because not only did I get better at preventing these overeating periods from happening in the first place, but also I really mastered the art of healthy overeating. And by healthy, I really just mean from a behavioral and mental perspective. So if I'm going to overeat, that's going to be something purposeful. It's something I'm going to enjoy and embrace. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm not going to be thinking about how I'm going to make up for this. No, this is what I'm doing now. It's fun. What happens tomorrow, we will see tomorrow. And I would say that this aspect of it, so mastering the art of healthy deviation, is just as important as preventing deviation in the first place. And I did a video on this, so I recommend that you check that one out. So all in all, this was not a very positive thing, but of course there are some silver linings to be found in this as well. And probably that is that I am wiser for it today. And maybe by talking about this and sharing my experience, you guys don't have to experience a lot of these things and you can avoid the mistakes that I made. Because as much as I suffered from this, I know it fully well that I 100% brought this onto myself. So if I'm just looking at the early years of my fitness journey, I basically did the textbook version of what not to do if you don't want to get disordered eating. So I was doing tons of prolonged fasting periods. For an entire year, I followed an eating pattern where I would fast 20 hours a day and I would have this 4-hour in the eating window. Now, I know that a lot of people do that regularly, but if you have some predisposition to disordered eating, which probably I do have genetically, then it's probably not a very good idea. Tons of restrictive dieting. Basically, for the first couple of years of my fitness journey, I spent 70% of my time dieting, whether that was actual caloric restriction or just attempting to diet. But from a mental and behavioral perspective, we might as well just call it dieting. Then huge cheat meals and cheat days occasionally, which were followed by even more restriction. And initially, I did that because I thought that's how it's done. I thought that was the good stuff. And over time, of course, I learned how it's done better, but that's how I started. So that's why I learned from that. And even though I cannot undo the past, I know what to do now. And again, maybe, just maybe, I can prevent some of you guys from going through that same hell that I had to go through. Now, the next thing that we have to talk about is relationships. And this is a coin with two sides for me, for sure. For one, there are my in-person relationships. And with that, I definitely went through big transitions over time. So initially, I really felt like I was just not accepted by my peers with my behaviors and goals that I have. So I felt like I was being made fun of a lot. I was mocked a lot for having my Tupperware container, for going to the gym as much as I did, for not eating certain things, turning down the random donut that someone offered me. And how big of a deal this really was, how much I was actually bullied because of this and how much of it was just in my head, it's hard to tell because eventually I admittedly became just hypersensitive to all of this. And of course, everything is just magnified by age. So when you're younger, you're just so much more prone to take things seriously. So everything just feels so much more final and radical and serious. So at that time, when someone made a comment or mocked me a little bit, it just felt like, oh my goodness, they are mocking me. Like, am I gonna be accepted by them? Will I have friends here? Now, probably those same comments wouldn't even make me bat an eye. So it was a learning curve. And by now, I would say I'm at peace with the people around me. They are at peace with the things that I'm doing. And today, it's mainly a neutral or positive thing. I enjoy my social life, and I have no issues with this. If you have any issues with this yourself, then I recommend that you check out a video that I did a year ago or so, and that was called Your Friends and Family Are Preventing You from Getting Lean. It's a bit of a clickbaity title, but I think it was a good video, so I think it could be useful for you if you have any issues with social pressures or feeling like you're accepted amongst your peers with your fitness goals. So that is that. And then, of course, we have to talk about the online side of things. So through me being into fitness, I started my YouTube channel. I became a member of the online evidence-based fitness community. And honestly, that has given me a lot. For one, of course, I got to spend many, many hours of my life speaking to incredible minds in the fitness industry on my podcast. People like Börge Fagerli, probably a lot of you know who he is. He freaking visited me here and we went and worked out together. And we even went and got tipsy together. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that crazy? I think it is. And other people like Dave McConey, Sotak Andre, you've seen these guys appear a lot on my channel. I would pretty much call them my friends today. And we interact on a daily basis. We discuss other things, not just fitness. And I see that as a huge positive. So the online fitness community, as much as you can say it's diluted, it's not the same as in-person relationships, I still feel like it has given me a lot, Now, another thing I want to talk about, and this sort of relates to the whole social aspect, and this is perhaps my only real regret that I have about these past 9 years, and that is, at certain times of my life, I feel like I willingly missed out on a lot of fun and lots of good opportunities because I was so dedicated to my fitness goals. So that could be either actually missing out on things, like saying no to events. No, I'm not going to go with you guys to this weekend trip, or I'm not going to take this week-long trip to Italy. I think I missed out on a lot of good things and a lot of good experiences. What epitomizes this is when I met my girlfriend 3.5 years ago. She's my girlfriend today, so it was kind of a big deal meeting her. I almost didn't go because I wanted to stay home to control my diet better. Now, I'm really glad that I made the right choice and I went. But the truth of the matter is that earlier on, I said no to lots of similar opportunities, which could have been life-changing, who knows? And to me, this is actually a lot worse than the disordered eating stuff, because that could be fixed. Like, I could come out of that. But these opportunities, they are gone forever. I will never get those back. And when you're younger, you take those for granted. Of course, I'm invited to this trip with my friends. Of course, I have so many of these opportunities. I don't even know which one to pick from. That will always be the case. But no, as you get older, life gets more serious, friends are getting busy, and these things will become a lot less frequent. So definitely a big regret there. And then there is the other side of this, and that is, even when I did participate in things, so I said yes, okay, I'm gonna go with you guys, even then, lots of times I could just not really enjoy myself and I could just not be present in the moment because in the back of my head, I was worried about how all of this is going to impact my fitness goals. So I'm going to give you a stupid, simple example. This isn't even specific to my life, but I think it will be illustrative. Imagine going to a weekend house with several of your best friends and you're having great time together, great conversations, great activities, lots of laughter, bantering each other. At night, you're making some good food on the mini grill in the garden. You drink some red wine together. It should be the best time of your life, but you cannot really enjoy it because in the back of your head, you're thinking about, man, should I really be eating this stuff? Like, I wanted to get six-pack lean until August. Or, man, I cannot train, this sucks. And sort of in the back of your head, you're waiting for the whole thing to be over. This I've experienced a lot. And the tough thing about this is, as much as I regret all of this, I can completely understand why this was a struggle for me. And that is because this is a balancing act. Like, you cannot have this mindset all the time. Like, if each time someone offers you a donut or invites you to binge drink or to grab some pizza, if each time you have the mindset of, hey, let's go with the flow, seize the day, embrace the moment, then you'll be spinning your wheels. Like, you will never get anywhere with your goals. So there are times when it's appropriate to have this mindset, and there are times when it's not. And you have to learn to juggle this and recognize when it's appropriate to turn this mindset on or off. And for some people, this comes intuitively. For me, it didn't. And it was a learning curve, and I had to experience this again and again until this became a much more intuitive process. And I definitely paid the price for not knowing this earlier. And I'm just hopeful, again, that by talking about this, you can recognize yourself in these stories, and maybe you can make better decisions earlier than I did. Another thing which we of course have to talk about, and that is that through me being into fitness, through becoming passionate about this, I became a content producer. So I got to speak with a lot of amazing people on my podcast. It's mind-blowing to me that I could spend 15 hours of my life talking to people like Eric Helms. I can say that I borderline had life-changing moments and epiphanies on these podcast episodes. I started my channel, which was definitely a roller coaster for a long time. I didn't really know who I wanted to be on YouTube. I was kind of searching for my true self, and I was putting on all kinds of gimmicks. By now, I can honestly say that you're seeing the real me. Like, this is how I am in real life, maybe making a bit more silly jokes. There was the occasional frustration, of course. Nothing comes without its downsides, but just occasionally getting the odd comment on YouTube that says, hey, Abel, I love your videos, or your videos changed my life, which I know probably a lot of you are thinking, come on, dude. I mean, I like your videos, but it didn't change my life. Come on. Look, I don't know. All I'm saying is I did get comments like that, and that just gives me a sense of purpose and urgency and just drive that very few other things are giving me in my life. So all in all, YouTube, online content production, a great experience. And then, of course, we have to talk a bit about coaching. So this is something I could do an entire podcast episode on. I have lots of interesting stories. I made my early mistakes for sure. I took some people on that I shouldn't have. I also had clients that were an absolute pleasure to work with. I also had some very problematic clients, and many times they still ended up turning out to be big successes because not only could I help them to achieve the physique goals that they wanted, but by the end of it, I felt like they were more autonomous, more competent. They truly learned something from the coaching process, and I just really felt like I left them better than how I found them. And I think that's really the ultimate success that you can have as a coach. And then at last, I want to talk about something, and this is actually pretty simple, and that is that fitness at one point pretty much changed my life. As corny as this sounds, it's really true. So I got into fitness during a very rough period in my life. I was lacking purpose and just general drive, and setting these fitness goals, becoming more organized and structured, all of a sudden gave me something again that I could be excited about. And of course, we can talk about fitness being a shallow goal, that you should have more grandiose, noble goals in life, like academic goals, career goals, developing good relationships. But the truth of the matter is that at the age of 20, I didn't have that, at least during that period. And getting into fitness made it possible for me to be excited about something again. And interestingly, as I became passionate about my fitness goals and about this whole process, I started becoming more passionate about other things again. So all of a sudden, I became motivated to pursue my academic goals, career goals, to develop good relationships. And all of a sudden, I looked up and I was 1,000% happier. No matter how we twist it, the fact of the matter is that at that time, fitness made it possible for me to regain my happiness. It's as simple as that. And since then, I would say that fitness remained an anchor in the storm for me. So when things are not going well in other areas of my life, when I'm going through a rough patch, fitness is always there as something I can just pour myself into and really focus on. And when things are not going well, it always holds me above the water. Now, the other aspect of this, and this is also something worth talking about, is that fitness is so effective at being this therapeutic outlet. It's so effective at being this safety blanket that you can just cover yourself with and hide away from the problems of life, that you can actually overdo this and you can sort of forget to live life. And this is something I committed to several times in my life, and I actually had to take a step back. And it's like medicine, that just the right dose and it can have wondrous effects. Too much of it can actually do more harm than good. And I think it's always important to just remember to place enough attention to other things in your life that have a greater absolute growth potential. So career, academic goals, relationships. In these things, if you just work harder, then probably you're just going to get better and better results. In fitness, there is clearly a point of diminishing returns where doing much more just doesn't accomplish very much, and it's just pure pleasure activity. So we can debate whether it's 4 or 5 or 7 days a week of training that's the best, or we can discuss whether it's better to also track fats and carbs, or it's enough to just track calories and protein. That's a different conversation for a different day. But there's definitely a point where becoming even more hardcore and optimizing even more things just doesn't accomplish very much. And it's just pleasure activity. And that's cool, that's totally fine. In fact, it's important to have hobbies and passions in life. So I have no issues with anybody who wants to train twice a day, 7 days a week, and consume some intra-workout carbs. But just realize that it's a fun pleasure activity at that point, just like playing your Xbox is a pleasure activity. And just always remember to dedicate enough time and attention to other areas of your life, which could also be important. So that would be my last remark. And all in all, let's conclude. Did fitness make me happier? The answer is yes, it 100% did. And I can say it with a very straight face that I would be a much, much less happy person if I didn't get into it and if I was not still doing it today. But as you can see, it's a complicated equation. It's not as simple as, well, of course, I got into shape and life is amazing. And it's also not a case of, well, these are the positives, these are the negatives, this many things in the positive column, this many things in the negative columns. The positives win out by 60-40. No, like maybe if we actually counted everything up, it would be a 50-50. But to me, it doesn't feel like a 50-50. To me, it feels like a 90-10 to the positives or a 99-1. And it's sort of like relationships. You know, think of the person who is your very, very best friend. And then think of the person who is, you know, he's a good guy, but damn it, for more than 2 hours, I cannot tolerate him. Many times it comes down to seemingly trivial differences. But to you, it doesn't feel like that. It seems like much more than just trivial differences. And the same is the case with my fitness journey. Were there negatives? Of course. But for me, the positives that I got out of this just mean so much more to me. They outweigh the negatives so drastically that it's not even a question that I became happier and my well-being just got to a completely new level as I got into fitness. So all in all, I am grateful that I found this pursuit. I will keep on doing it for as long as I can. And I'm actually really curious to hear, what is your experience, guys? I would love to see some sort of a pros and cons list. And just all in all, let us know, like, what was your experience? I think it would be really interesting to see the input of more people. But nevertheless, I wanted to make this video because I thought that maybe it could help you guys reflect as well. And by talking about some of my mess ups, maybe I can help you guys prevent some of those mistakes that I made. And I hope that as different as it was from my general content, it was informative in some ways. But nevertheless, I hope you will enjoy your New Year's Eve a lot. I hope 2021 will be better than this past really strange year. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video.